Chapter 10. The Queen's College Class. It was November. Marilla and Anne sat in the kitchen at Green Gables. Marilla's eyes were tired and weak. They often hurt her. "I'll go to town tomorrow and get new glasses," she thought. Anne was in front of the fire with a book in her hand. Marilla watched her. She loved Anne very much. She often made pretty dresses for the child now. "Anne," she said, "Miss Stacy was here today. She talked to me about your future. Would you like to study at Queen's College in Charlottetown? Would you like to be a teacher?"
"Oh, yes, Marilla," said Anne, and her eyes shone. "But isn't Queen's College very expensive?"
"Yes," said Marilla, "but Matthew and I will pay for you." 6 other students from Avonlea wanted to go to Queen's College, too. They studied after school in one class, the Queen's College class. Anne and Gilbert Blythe were the smartest students in the class. Sometimes Anne was first, and sometimes Gilbert. Gilbert was friendly with the other girls in the class, but he never spoke to Anne. When Anne thought about him, she felt sorry. "I don't hate Gilbert now," she thought. The Queen's College class was very interesting, and the days went quickly. Winter came again, then spring, then summer. At the beginning of the long summer vacation, Anne went home and put her books away in a box.
"I'm not going to study in the vacation," she said to Marilla. "I want to enjoy this summer. There are going to be parties and concerts, and Mr. Barry is going to take us to dinner one evening at the hotel at White Sands."
Mrs. Lynde came to tea with Marilla at Green Gables.
"Matthew doesn't look very well these days," she said.
"No," said Marilla. "He had a problem with his heart last week. He works hard, but he has to be careful."
"When Anne came to Green Gables, I said unkind things about her," said Mrs. Lynde. "But I made a big mistake. She helps you, and she's very pretty now, too."
Anne enjoyed her summer very much. In the fall, she went back to school. The Queen's College class started again, and Anne worked hard all year. But she went to parties and concerts, too. When Marilla looked at Anne, she felt a little sad. "She's 15 now," she thought. "She's almost a woman." By June, Anne and the other students were ready for the Queen's College examinations. They went to Charlottetown and stayed there for a week. When Anne came home, Diana was at Green Gables.
"How were the examinations, Anne?" she asked.
"They were very difficult," said Anne. "I'm very tired now." One evening, 3 weeks later, Anne sat by the window in Green Gables. The summer evening was very beautiful. The sky in the west was slowly turning red. Suddenly, Diana arrived with a newspaper in her hand.
"Anne," she cried excitedly, "your name's in the newspaper. You came first in the Queen's College examinations. You and Gilbert Blythe. You're the best students on the island."
Anne looked at the newspaper. There were 200 names there. Her name was at the top. Hers and Gilbert's.
"This is wonderful, Diana," she said happily.
She ran to Marilla and Matthew. Then she went to see Mrs. Lynde and Mrs. Allen. "You did very well, Anne," they said. Chapter 11. A New Start. Anne went to Queen's College and enjoyed her time there. She was in the same class as Gilbert Blythe, but they didn't speak. At the end of the year, there were more examinations. Anne did very well. She won a free place at another college, Redmond College. Gilbert Blythe got a place at the college, too. Anne went back to Green Gables in June. Diana came to see her.
"I have 3 months' wonderful vacation at Green Gables," said Anne. "Then I'm going to Redmond College."
"Gilbert Blythe isn't going," Diana told her. "His father doesn't have the money. So Gilbert is going to teach in the Avonlea school."
"Oh,"
said Anne. Suddenly, she felt sad. The next morning at breakfast, Anne watched Matthew's face. It was very tired and gray.
"Is Matthew all right?"
she asked Marilla later. "No," said Marilla. "He's having problems with his heart again. He works hard, and his heart isn't strong." Some days later, Matthew came into the kitchen and fell to the ground. Anne and Marilla ran to him, but Matthew was dead. Anne was very sad. Later in her room, she cried and cried.
"Matthew was my first friend," she thought. "He brought me to Green Gables. He was always very kind to me. I loved him."
Anne woke in the night, and Marilla came to her. "Don't cry," she said. "Matthew was a good brother and a wonderful man. But you have me, and I have you, Anne. I love you very much." Marilla sat at the kitchen table. She looked very tired and sad. Anne put her arms around her.
"What's wrong, Marilla?"
she asked. "My eyes are hurting again," answered Marilla. "I can't see very well, and I can't work. And Anne, there's something worse. I have to sell Green Gables. Matthew and I had our money in the Abbey Bank, but the bank had problems, and now there's no money." She started to cry.
"Don't cry, Marilla," cried Anne. "You don't have to sell Green Gables. You and Matthew did everything for me. Now I'm going to help you. I'm not going to go to Redmond College. I'll teach at a school on Prince Edward Island, and I'll help you with Green Gables. We'll be very happy, you and I."
Mrs. Lynde visited Green Gables. "You're doing a very good thing for Marilla," she said to Anne. "She's very happy. And you can teach at the Avonlea school."
"I can't," said Anne. "Gilbert Blythe is going to teach here. I'll live at Green Gables, but I have to find another school."
"No," said Mrs. Lynde. "Gilbert heard about Marilla's problems. He knows you want to be near Marilla, so he's going to go to the White Sands School. The Avonlea school is yours."
"That's very nice of Gilbert,"
thought Anne in surprise. 2 days later, Anne met Gilbert on the road. She stopped and put out her hand.
"Gilbert," she said, "thank you very much for the job at the Avonlea school. I'm sorry about everything. Please, let's be friends now."
"Yes," said Gilbert, and took Anne's hand. "I'd like that." Gilbert walked home with Anne. They stood outside Green Gables and talked for half an hour. Later, Anne sat by her window and looked out. It was a beautiful night.
"I know I'm going to be very happy," she thought. "I have a good job and dear friends. Everything is going to be all right."